What does a pirate ship have to do with learning how to write? I'm Christina Salerno. Students in San Francisco experience a wacky world where a mysterious pirate named Captain Blue helps them hone their writing skills.
The days of metal shop and wood shop are back. I'm Jim Finnerty. California is pouring significant new money into career technical education programs that mix academics with real-world work experience and hands-on training.
Spend a day in the life of a paraeducator as she provides support and guidance to a child with special needs.
You've met your child's teachers and principal, but who is really driving the decisions behind your local school? I'm Sarah Gardner. We'll show you the hierarchy of local schools, up to the school boards and superintendents making big decisions. It's all coming up on Inside California Education.
Funding for Inside California Education is made possible by, since 1985, the California Lottery has raised more than $30 billion for our public schools. It's a modest amount after dividing it up to California's 1,100 public school districts from kindergarten through high school, as well as community colleges, UC and CSU campuses. Still, these funds help attract quality teachers, provide classroom equipment, and keep art and music programs alive. With caring teachers, committed administrators, and active parents, every public school student can realize their dreams. The California Lottery. Imagine the possibilities. The Stewart Foundation, improving life outcomes for young people through education. Additional funding for Inside California Education is made possible by these organizations supporting public education.
Thanks for joining us on Inside California Education. You know, for many of us, wood shop and metal shop were just brief stops in our educational journey, perhaps a class or two in high school. But thanks to new state funds, nowadays career technical education classes are bigger, broader, and better supported than ever all throughout California. That's allowing schools to create exciting new career-focused programs that are tied to local employers. We found one successful example in the small community of Mount Shasta.
I feel accomplished for sure. Every day I learn something new here.
Evan Gatewood's pretty excited, both about school and his possible future career. The Mount Shasta High School senior is learning highly sought-after welding skills at this state-of-the-art facility right on the school grounds.
We got new machines and new equipment that just help make this shop a better place to start career ed. I feel that I could eventually make a career out of this.
These welding booths at Mount Shasta High School are made possible by a $1.5 million grant from the California Career Pathways Trust, a competitive grant program created by lawmakers in 2014. The state is pouring more than $1.5 billion over 5 years into programs that combine academics with hands-on technical skills as well as real-world work experience.
If you want to talk about education, it's probably one of the most satisfying things in education that I've ever experienced, that's for sure.
School principal Jennifer McKinnon says the district didn't get the grant the first time they applied, but that extra year allowed them to get more input from the Mount Shasta community, which suggested that teaching students good employee work habits was just as important as computer or manufacturing skills.
Those habits of mind are critical, so they're learning how to persevere, you know, how important timeliness is, and there's a whole variety of what are kind of called soft skills, but that are critical for any kind of job.
Dedication, old school work habits. So there is opportunity here for the right skills. They just need to be taught and learned and put in the process.
Cuts the lines first, and then it'll cut everything else second.
Good.
Thad Wallace is one of the coordinators of the Mount Shasta Career Pathways Grant. He's teaching these students how to design and cut metal artwork.
Oh, it's been huge. I mean, it's opened up so many things that we would have never had the possibility to do. And we were able to bring in a huge amount of technology, And then now that we're teaching them things that are skill-based and useful, they're definitely interested.
Where you produce, manufacture, and then sell those products to the world.
Before the hands-on skills, though, there are business basics. Bright Nichols Stock, another grant coordinator, is teaching these freshmen how to be entrepreneurs, from product ideas, design, and marketing.
Well, after collecting some data from age groups 12 through 19, we've actually decided to sell it for the low price of $150.
To accounting and hiring, should they ever open their own businesses.
One of the things that I've seen in my students is this excitement for learning because it's relevant. They really get an opportunity to see how what they're doing is going to benefit them, benefit their community, their future.
We have a lot of locally made products. I really like that.
Beyond the classroom, it's local businesses that are providing the key to the Career Pathways program's success. Kendra Bainbridge gave the school's metalworking students a design for this decorative owl. The students made them and brought them to her shop.
So we gave it a shot, and sure enough, every single one sold. I think this program is fantastic. I'm super proud of these students. I think it's great for the kids to be able to see what is available and the potential that's in our community.
Nicole Fallon and Brooks White moved from the Bay Area to Mount Shasta, where they operate an online marketing and consulting business. They immediately saw a learning gap between students in Silicon Valley and those here.
I was essentially heartbroken at the thought of these kids graduating from here, trying to get into the higher education schools outside of the county, the Davises, the Stanfords, etc., and being thrust into an environment where they were so far behind.
Yeah, and that looks really good.
So the pair began offering internships to high schoolers, and they also help students with their entrepreneurial projects.
We really believe strongly that you can't pursue what you don't know exists. It's easy for us to open the horizons and say, did you guys know that there's this entire industry that you haven't even heard of that does these things? And some of them just get really excited.
Right. You're learning to weld, but did it ever occur to you that somebody has to build and program the welding machine?
You locked it? Yeah. Cool. Other side.
Since 2014, nearly $500 million Career Pathway dollars have flowed to 80 California school districts, county education offices, community colleges, and charter schools. Another $900 million will be awarded over the next few years. Work-based skills being taught range from auto mechanics to aviation, healthcare to 3D design. Building or greatly improving career tech programs can be time-consuming and the grant process lengthy. But in communities like Mount Shasta and Siskiyou County, there's widespread agreement that it's worth it because it helps ensure a highly trained workforce will stay, boost local businesses, and attract new ones, greatly helping the local economy.
Take advantage of it. Create a program that your children could be successful as they go through high school. Show them a direction they can go to.
The opportunities are there. It takes a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of collaboration, amongst many different stakeholders, but the end result is amazing.
Hearing them come to us and say, wow, this is really interesting, exciting stuff. What more do you have? I'm thinking, wow, that's really amazing.
If you have the resources and you have the instructors, your students are going to be able to excel in these career pathways for sure.
California's career technical education aims to prepare students for the 21st century and beyond. It focuses on 15 growth industries, including engineering and design, agriculture, fashion, hospitality, energy, and building trades.
A San Francisco program relies on a mix of volunteers, schools, and pirates to teach kids how to write. Yes, there's a finicky pirate who has the final say on whether or not the student's writing is up to his tough standards. Let's take you to this whimsical writing world called 826 Valencia. Those who dare to walk the plank behind San Francisco's only independent pirate supply store discover a treasure chest filled with the writings of these young authors.
In the center of Paris Tech, there was a huge tower made of phones, tablets, and other tech items.
At 826 Valencia, trained adult volunteers work with kids from 3rd to 7th grade, encouraging them to tell their own stories and listening when they do.
We address them as writers right from the beginning. We have them come in and we start to talk about the parts of a story.
Who knows what that's called when characters talk to each other in a story? Brianna. Dialogue.
What is dialogue? What is an antagonist? What is a protagonist? And then they work together collaboratively to do the beginning part of the story, the setting, and then the characters.
All of these characters are going to be in your story. So we need to make sure that we listen when the adults at each table are sharing the details so you know who is in this story.
He's a robot. Not a robot.
Made of gold.
He's a robot.
She's a lady with long hair that is a whole rainbow of colors.
Her name is Sangs. She lives in San Francisco. We have great characters, but what are we still waiting for in our story? What do we still need?
The problem.
Exactly.
And then we come to a cliffhanger, and then each kid writes their own ending.
While the kids are creating the story, we listen very carefully to what they create, the characters, the settings, and what I personally do is I try to make a drawing of the settings, and they see that what they created comes to life.
And over there at that table, Sitska was working on making all of your ideas into pictures. Here is one of them that's going to be in your book.
And then we also have typists who chronicles the story on a screen.
Both had huge houses made of gold, and many with pools filled with gold.
We have a mysterious Captain Blue up in the rafters that the kids never see, and Captain Blue acts as a crotchety old editor.
Oh, Captain Blue!
Yes?
Well, I have two of our amazing writers with me, Gabby and Jameer.
The good news is we came up with a lot of original ideas. The bad news is we're not quite finished with our story.
Did they use dialogue? Did they develop the character? Did they come to a satisfying ending? And the kids really listen for that. You can see it in their faces. That's probably the part they're most engaged in.
Wow, lots of action, creative stuff going on there. Like it. That was the truth.
Thank you.
Thank you for all those great stories. Keep writing.
Usually they leave with a book, and you can just see them holding it like, I made this book. I made this.
826 Valencia was co-founded by author Dave Eggers and educator Nanivi Caligari in 2002.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Eggers told a TED Talk audience that they were looking for a way to connect interested adults with underserved students to improve writing skills and to support overburdened teachers.
It brought in so many people, teachers, donors, volunteers, everybody, because it was street level, it was open to the public, it wasn't a nonprofit buried, on the 30th floor of some building in downtown. It was right in the neighborhood that it was serving, and it was open all the time to the public.
But why a pirate store?
This location was originally a gym, and it had gym mats all over the walls, and our co-founders say that as they took down these mats, they said, oh my gosh, it kind of looks like a pirate ship. Meanwhile, the location was zoned for retail, so we had to sell something. And so the co-founders said, hey, why not sell supplies for pirates?
Besides satisfying the zoning requirements, the store actually turns a profit. And there's another benefit.
A lot of times programs have this kind of like, this vibe of like, this is a place of remediation, there's like stigma attached to it. This place is so wacky that the stigma is taken away and it's replaced by creativity and wonder.
At the heart of 826 Valencia's mission is the value of the one-to-one relationship of tutor to student and the engagement of the community with the schools and teachers. They recruit hundreds of volunteers each year for a wide range of programs, including field trips, workshops, and after-school tutoring at both the Pirate Store and community schools.
We have very tight funding issues. We have finite staffing ratios with staff to students. Here, having the benefit of an army of people coming in to work with a particular group of students on a particular task is astounding.
Are we at table 1? What was at table 6? That's what Ashley said.
If they're in the after-school program, it means typically that the family is not available to be with the child in the after-school program. And so having someone that's giving the child that individual attention as an adult that really wants to know what the child's thinking, that's powerful.
We work with students from 3rd grade all the way to 7th grade. So it's really incredible to see a student who on the first day of school in 3rd grade is, paralyzed by misspelling and, struggling to know what to write. And then by the time they leave at the end of 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade, they are proud of themselves. They're talking about the number of times they've been published, and they feel good about what they can do.
Okay, so if you finished it, then I collected it already for you, okay? High five, because then it can go in the book, okay?
All of 826 Valencia services are free to the students and schools. The programs are so successful that 6 other chapters have opened in New York, Los Angeles, Ann Arbor, Chicago, Boston, and Washington, D.C.
In our dream scenario, it would be everywhere.
You swam every day.
As a kid, a lot of people don't listen to kids, or they don't think that they have anything to say. And this program really counteracts that, and you can see it on their faces.
Aye, aye, Captain!
While pirates run the ship in San Francisco, it's superheroes who swoop in to help at the 826 outpost in New York. Robots rule in Michigan while Bigfoot looms large in Boston. Secret agents hide out in Chicago, magicians ply their trade in Washington, D.C., and a visit to Los Angeles could result in a trip back in time.
Still ahead on Inside California Education. Have you ever wondered how local school decisions are made? A look at just who's running the schools. But first, we'll show you a day in the life of a paraeducator.
Are you ready to go? Okay. Is that okay?
A paraeducator is someone who stands by the student and guides him.
Okay, ready? Yeah. Let's go.
Bye. It's a support system for the student.
I think we're already lining up.
My name is Cristina Munoz. I am a paraeducator at Las Palmas Elementary. I've been working here for about 5 years with the same student.
What's the date today?
I started with Owen when he was in kindergarten. Owen is a bright young boy. He's 11 years old and he has Down syndrome. The program that he is in is called Inclusion. He's in with the general population and, he's rocking it.
I can't finish school. I'm going to sit by school.
I'm there to help and guide and support him throughout the day.
Kaylin and Ashley sings very well.
The teacher has almost 30 other students that they're focused on, and the teacher can't stop what she's doing to help one student when there's 30 other kids in the classroom that need her support as well. So that's where I step in, and I take care of what needs to be taken care of with Owen. Good job, Owen. I'm his friend, most importantly. He knows that I will be there. He knows that anything that he needs, he can count on me. He's kind of like my child as well. Like, I have 3 kids, So that's how I treat him. I treat him as my own, and he knows that. Paying attention. Him being in full inclusion, he's gaining social skills, and that right there is a huge part of any student with a disability. Being around his peers, he sees that he's no different, and that's what we strive for, is for him to be socially independent, and he does a very good job at doing that.
Owen, do you want to read Thursday all together?
No, good.
You want to do Friday?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you want to change on Friday?
I want to say it takes a special type of person. You definitely have to go in with a lot of patience. You have to go in with a big heart, and you have to want to see growth in your student. And when you start seeing that, you know that you're doing your job. I love doing what I do with him because he's so bright in what he does every day. So it makes me want to, be here and help him. I can't see myself not being with him. I can be his one-on-one aide until he graduates high school. And at this point, That's all I have focused on, is getting him all the way to graduation day.
Back to school night or parent-teacher conferences may be the only connection many parents have with their child's school. But just who has the say in running a school or school district? What are the dynamics between the school and the community? Let's take a look at exactly how local decisions at your school are made. After the American Revolution, northern states rapidly established schools to preserve the freedoms that were fought for. In the early 1800s, Massachusetts began electing school committees to run the schools, a model that spread to the rest of the nation. And significant changes came after World War II, with new federal dollars supporting programs like school lunches and special education. But while public education and funding has evolved, the process still centers on local communities setting up systems to support students in local classrooms.
Our whole emphasis is to have students leave us, to graduate, and be very capable, confident 21st century learners.
Wendy Stinnett is superintendent of the La Cañada Unified School District in Los Angeles County, San Gabriel Valley. In the world of school governance, the superintendent is the CEO of the school district, implementing the vision of the school board on a day-to-day basis.
All school board members are elected by the community, by the city of La Cañada, through a public election. And we're tasked with governance and oversight over the school district.
David Segal is the president of the La Cañada board, heading up a district with 3 elementary schools, a middle school, and high school. While this district has only 4,000 students, it deals with all of the issues faced by much larger communities.
We get involved with the curriculum. A good example, we get involved when we buy textbooks. We review the textbooks before they're purchased, the materials that are used in the classroom.
From my perspective, you want to make sure that all the board policies and administrative regulations of a district are overseen and implemented.
The school board says what, and the superintendent determines how. I also think that you can't downplay the role of listening, either as superintendent or school board, to be listening to their local constituencies, to be listening to students, stakeholder groups, their community at large. That's when magic happens.
Local communities now have more ability than ever to get involved under the state's new local control funding formula. To access those state funds, districts must engage people in the community to write a local control and accountability plan. Nicknamed the LCAP, the plan sets goals and an overall vision for the school district.
Through various community meetings, we did surveys in the community to find what are the important things you'd like to see emphasized in the governance of the district.
La Cañada's LCAP committee included more than 24 people invited to participate in the decision-making process.
There was always, in the past, there's always parents who want to be engaged and involved, but it's not as broad. I feel like there's a broader involvement here in La Cañada.
When you ask parents what they want from their schools, they'll tell you 2 things. The first thing they mention, they want their students to be safe. The second thing is they want their students to learn.
It gave us an opportunity to really focus on our students and what we need. And class size reduction is one of those things that's always come up in conversations, but it was the first time we were all in the same room to really talk about it.
Opening up the process to the community also brought in viewpoints that might not otherwise be heard.
We had 2 students who mentioned conservation and wanting that to be part of the LCAP, and we've had some of those goals come to fruition.
Government, good, right? It says it right here in the quote, right?
The LCAP plan must adhere to 8 priorities set by the state, such as implementing Common Core standards and improving student outcomes. It's just one example of the ways in which the state of California has a governing role.
It is confusing because the idea is it's supposed to be locally governed. You have state legislature that creates laws that affect it. You've got the governor with budgets that affect the governance of schools, and then you've got the federal government.
The federal government has its responsibilities and its expectations, and we in California have ours. We're working very hard as a state board to try to align those so it's a single coherent system. I think the public wants us to do better faster, and I think we do too. And I think it's a long process to do the best we can for every student that comes in our door and to help them leave at the end of high school really college and career ready.
That's going to do it for this edition of Inside California Education. If you'd like more information about the program, just log on to our website, insidecaled.org. We have video from all of our shows, and you can connect with us on social media as well. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on Inside California Education.
Oh, Captain Blue!
Thank you for all those great stories. Keep writing.
Government, good, right? It says it right here in the quote, right?
And so that's going to give us our final answer. Owen, do you want to read Thursday all together?
Funding for Inside California Education is made possible by, since 1985, the California Lottery has raised more than $30 billion for our public schools. It's a modest amount after dividing it up to California's 1,100 public school districts from kindergarten through high school, as well as community colleges, UC and CSU campuses. Still, these funds help attract quality teachers, provide classroom equipment, and keep art and music programs alive. With caring teachers, committed administrators, and active parents, every public school student can realize their dreams. The California Lottery. Imagine the possibilities. The Stewart Foundation, improving life outcomes for young people through education. Additional funding for Inside California Education is made possible by these organizations supporting public education.